Imagine an ordinary day. People rush about, planes trace white streaks, somewhere they're baking coffee and watching their favorite TV shows. But suddenly, without warning, the sun goes out. It doesn't set. It doesn't get covered by clouds. It just disappears. In an instant, the day turns into absolute, cosmic, oppressive darkness. And for the first few seconds, everyone thinks it's just a strange eclipse. But no. It's the beginning of 24 hours without light and heat, which will become the longest and most terrifying day in human history. When darkness falls, people first try to joke. Oh, a sunny vacation, they laugh. But within 5 minutes, smartphones are filled with alarming messages: the sun is not visible in any country. 10 minutes later, satellites record a lack of solar radiation. 15 minutes later, countries around the world declare a state of emergency. For the first time, the world understands, this is not a temporary problem. It's a cosmic catastrophe. The temperature begins to drop almost immediately. In the first hour, the world cools by 3 to 5 degrees. Not a ray of sunlight maintains the familiar surface warmth. Cities seem to exhale steam. Windows are covered with frost. People feel real fear for the first time, not from the darkness, but from the cold, which is growing too quickly. The wind becomes sharp and biting, like the beginning of an ice age. On Earth, almost everything is tied to the sun. Power plants, batteries, solar panels, everything is dying. Power grids are overloaded, millions of homes are instantly without power. Diesel generators roar like wounded animals, but they cannot withstand the load. Infrastructure is creaking. Cities are plunged into a chaos of flickering lights and darkened neighborhoods. Without sunlight, the atmosphere begins to cool so rapidly that strange, rare ice crystals appear in the upper layers of the air. Scientists are observing phenomena they have never seen before. Air density changes, the wind becomes unpredictable. Weather stations are breaking down from the overload. The light frost turns into the icy breath of space. Birds flock in chaotic flocks, unable to tell east from west. Dogs howl. Foxes come out to people. Cows stop moving, as if afraid to step into the unfamiliar darkness. Nature seems frozen in anticipation of the deadly cold. And the most frightening thing isn't the animal's behavior, but that it seems much more logical than human behavior. As their eyes adjust to the absolute darkness, people notice something strange for the first time: the stars are brighter than ever. Where once was sunlight, there is now a deep abyss of space. Thousands of objects are visible that no one has ever seen before. It's breathtaking, but only until the cold makes your teeth tremble. 4 hours later, the temperature in some regions drops below -15. Cars won't start. The water in the pipes turns to ice. People are hunting for any warmth: candles, blankets, even hot laptop batteries. Those trapped outside risk freezing in minutes. The cold is becoming a killer. All countries, politics aside, are recording a joint appeal: stay warm. Don't panic. We are looking for a solution. But fear is heard in the leaders' voices. Even the best scientists still don't know, why did the sun disappear? And will it return? Everyone needs answers, but they don't exist. Even the air around them seems different. It's difficult to breathe. The cold pressure intensifies. For the first time, people understand that space is close at hand. Death lies just 100 kilometers up. Now this death is slowly descending. The shores of the oceans are covered with a thin crust of ice. The waves become slow, viscous. Rivers turn into long white streaks. People go out to the embankments and watch as vast masses of water slow down, as if time itself is beginning to freeze. Cities are beginning to die. Skyscrapers lose their glow. The metro stops. Passengers exit the cars into the darkness of the tunnels. The only thing that remains stable is fear. People move in groups, trying to find warmth, like ancient tribes in the cave age. The cold changes people. Some begin to help strangers. And others, the opposite. In some cities, skirmishes break out over fuel and food. In others, people unite in huge, insulated centers, like new, heat cities. And for the first time, humanity understands, a society without the sun is a completely different society. Scientists are finally releasing a preliminary analysis. If the sun doesn't return within 48 hours, Earth will become uninhabitable. In 72 hours, the oceans will be covered in ice. In a week, the atmosphere will begin to condense and fall as oxygen snow. In a month, the entire planet will freeze to the core. But there is hope. If the sun returns within the next 24 hours, Earth will survive. Planes are making their last flights, evacuation flights. Airports are overcrowded. People try to fly to a place a few degrees warmer. But the fuel thickens in the cold, and the air becomes too dense. After a few hours, aviation grounds to a halt completely. Household appliances are destroyed. Phone screens are cracked by the frost. Metal is shrinking. Plastic is breaking. Drones are falling from the sky. People understand that civilization is a very fragile thing. Everyone is looking for a way to warm up. No one is embarrassed about looking ridiculous anymore. People are putting on 10 sweaters, several scarves, 2 down jackets at once. They are burning piles of clothes, old magazines, furniture, anything that can provide any warmth. In apartments, they are building small stoves from pots, metal cans, and bricks found on balconies. Trees are beginning to crack from the brutal temperature drop. The sound travels through the night streets like a series of dull thuds, as if someone is shooting in the forests. Thick trunks that have stood for centuries can no longer withstand the strain. The frost compresses the wood, causing it to snap like fragile matches. Without solar energy, natural processes seem to hit pause. The wind gradually dies down, and the air becomes dead and still. Clouds disappear, leaving a void in the sky, as if the sky itself has died. Even sound behaves differently. It seems to become heavier, slower, as if passing through a thick, cold gel. The world around us feels wrong, as if someone has switched off the familiar laws of physics. Birds don't fly, the air doesn't move, and breath turns into a murky, icy vapor. Space seems alien, otherworldly. People step outside and feel as if they are not on Earth, but in some other dimension, where everything familiar has ceased to function, from nature to reality itself. Countries, forgetting conflicts and borders, hastily unite. For the first time, the world acts as a single organism. A global network of thermal shelters is created, thousands of protected zones where temperatures are maintained at a level that can preserve life. People are evacuated to schools, subways, sports arenas, and factory hangars. Heat guns, potbelly stoves, and homemade boilers assembled from multi-ton pipes are installed inside. Huge groups of people are warming themselves everywhere, sleeping on the floor, sharing blankets and food. Ordinary citizens work shoulder to shoulder with the military, scientists, and volunteers. For the first time, humanity lives as a single species, not as competing powers. And this unity, amidst the shared cold, makes the fear a little less intense. The temperature drops to -40 degrees Celsius, and the Earth begins to feel like the moon, dead, alien, lifeless. Cars are coated in a thick layer of ice, as if they're growing armor. Metal is so cold it sticks to gloves. Motor oils thicken and turn into a nearly immobile mass, and glass cracks at the slightest blow of the freezing wind. People who dare venture outside without protection suffer frostbite within minutes, their skin turns white, their fingers lose feeling, their eyelashes turn into tiny icy needles. Every breath burns their lungs, as if inhaling liquid nitrogen. Roads become empty, streets fall silent, the world turns into a vast freezer, where all living things move only in search of warmth. Humanity is approaching a critical point. In just a few more hours, the heating plants, the last points where energy is generated, will freeze. If they stop, the world will be plunged into absolute cold, and millions of people simply won't have time to reach shelter. Scientists are panicking, reporting data. Everything indicates that the temperature will continue to drop without stopping. Meanwhile, telescopes around the world show one thing: the sun remains completely dark. It doesn't flicker, shows no signs of activity. The images seem unreal, as if the sun has become an empty black hole of light. No one knows what's happening. Astronomers argue, but agree on one thing: this isn't an ordinary solar minimum or cycle. This is something entirely different. Something that could be the beginning of the end. And suddenly, after 24 hours of absolute darkness, a faint, almost shy ray appears on the horizon. It's so soft that people think it's a hallucination. But a minute later, the ray brightens. The sun slowly turns on. Not abruptly, as if rebooting. And at that moment, the entire earth screams. Some with joy. Some with relief. Some simply because they survived. The temperature begins to rise. The ice melts. Machines come to life. People emerge from shelters and gaze at the sunlight as if it were a miracle. It seems as if the world has been reborn. But the consequences will linger long afterward. The cold day rewrote the history of civilization. Humanity understands, it is too dependent on the star it long took for granted. One day without the sun forced us to see our fragility, our interconnectedness, and our mortality. And on this day, humanity experienced its first taste of icy death, enough to never forget how precious a single ray of sunshine is.